Oh, hello there. My name's Casey Gordon, and I'm here today in Tallinn, Estonia, as part of the University at Buffalo's 2017 Summer Study Abroad program in urban planning. And I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about the history and the impact of city walls in city planning and development here in Estonia.
The city walls of Tallinn are among the oldest and most intact medieval walls in all of Europe and is currently a World Heritage Site alongside the Tallinn Old Town. The stone wall dates back to the early 1200s, when they were constructed by the Danish rulers of Estonia to provide additional protection for the city from attacks originating from the nearby harbor. The wall is split into two halves, an upper area based on top of stone cliffs where the Danish nobles lived, and a lower town full of merchants and trade houses where they are closer to the harbor, but they are also less defended. All around the wall, the defenses were anchored by a series of imposing towers, updated over the centuries to take advantage of new weapon developments and technologies. Despite the wall upgrades, with the development of gunpowder weapons, the stone walls were quickly becoming obsolete. So just outside the walls, Swedish military engineers, who were in control of Tallinn at that time, constructed imposing earthwork bastions surrounding the entire existing system. Fortunately, Tallinn's defenses were never truly tested, and the importance of the defensive structures disappeared. Fortifications began to go unmaintained, and soon the bastions became the site of large city parks, locations for playgrounds, picnics, and even a game of soccer, right under the old city walls. As defense was less of a concern, the city began to push against the limitations that living inside a wall created, and soon buildings were being constructed on the far side of the wall. In many places, the old fortified gates were removed to make access to the city easier. Nowadays, parts of the walls have large windows, and the strong towers are now museums, shops, and hotels. Sometimes parts of the wall have even been forgotten and lost, and only rediscovered when they were recently building a new underground parking garage. Some say that the city walls in the Old Town may be a liability to Tallinn by preventing the construction of new towers due to the Old Town and the wall's UNESCO heritage status. Regardless, the tourism that the Old Town and the intact wall brings to Estonia make it a treasure worth keeping and a resource that keeps giving. In Tartu, the university town of Estonia, not much of the medieval heritage or wall is left. Due to various sieges throughout the city's history, a great majority of the wall and buildings have been destroyed many times over, leaving very little remnants to be observed. Just a small part of the original wall is left in the botanical gardens, and it's in use as a path among the plants.
Here we are on the banks of the Emoji River outside the city of Tartu. This here's a reconstructed example of the original Estonian wall, which was torn down possibly in the 1800s to help rebuild the city after a war. As you can see, it's quite hefty and quite tall. Very hard to get over it.
Another part of Tartu that shows some of the more original defenses is an old gunpowder magazine that's now in use as a pub, and the citadel that was built into. Nowadays, the above-ground part is also parkland, similar to Tallinn. One final display of the city wall in Tartu is through these patterns on the ground here along the Old Town walkways leading to the more modern shopping districts. The heavier stones on the ground are laid over the location of the old city walls, both the gatehouse as well as the standard wall on its own, and it helps remind citizens where the wall was and what it was like in a low-impact fashion. A more recent city wall, and more significant to current residents in this city, is this barbed wire fence from the outskirts of a Soviet airbase in Tartu. Estonians who reached this wall could be shot on sight by Soviet military members. Now, this wall has fallen as well, and the airbase is currently the site of the National Museum of Estonia. Like Tallinn and Tartu, Narva was also once a fortified city, as seen in this town map, with prominent earthworks as well as a castle right on the edge of the city. Similar to the fate of the earthworks in both previous cities, the bastions in Narva are too now also parklands. At the base of the bastions, there's now a popular recreation site alongside the Riverwalk Promenade, which traces the outline of the old defenses alongside the water. Narva even references their old walls and the design of their new beach house, which was designed to emulate the angles and shapes of the bastions. The more obvious city wall in Narva, though, is connected to Herman Castle, a medieval fortress that was constructed by the Danes contemporarily to the Tallinn city walls. This castle was said to be one of the strongest in all of Northern Europe, and it was placed to defend the city of Narva from the Russian threat across the narrow straits and the later constructed Ivangorod fortress. But even now, this once great castle is also a place of recreation. Today, Narva still has a city wall of sorts, but rather than surrounding the city, it's connected to this bridge, guarding the international border crossing. In all three cities, the old walls and the towns that they protected are a major tourist draw where they still exist. The shape of the town dictated the original design of the wall, but the wall systems later on helped shape how the towns were to develop. Now, a new type of wall is growing in Estonia, but this one's along the Russian border, and rather than stone, it's constructed with watchtowers and radar. And only time will show if these walls will end up as monuments of the same importance as the medieval defenses that we all know today.